Hey, good afternoon. Shaky SoCal 12 for Forza, and it's the next round of track guides in the 97 Porsche GT1 Stress Inversion. I'm not sure if this is the first race for this coming Thursday or the second race, but it is the Catalunya GP. I'm hoping it's well, we'll see. I think given what the other race is, my hope is that this is the first one, and then the other one it comes up second. But we'll see. We'll see what that is. But I'm going to do what I normally do because I need to practice a little bit and sort this out. So I'm going to run some laps, kind of then run a couple out laps just to kind of get up to speed, then do kind of a track walk kind of thing of what I think this car is going to want to do, what it seems to like, and then I'm going to do a mock race with what I think the race length will be. Just again, gives me some traffic to work through. Hopefully it makes for an entertaining stream, and we'll go from there. But again, first race, or at least one of the races, is at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya on the GP circuit. So the new GP circuit, or the current GP circuit without the death chicane at the end. Or maybe actually it's not really a death chicane, it's more calamity chicane. But be that as it may, let's go ahead and do the car setup. So for these kind of testing purposes, especially to kind of gauge tire wear, I usually just do 50% fuel. We are running X4 on the tire dag. I'm actually going to run these laps on the soft, so I'm going to get a false sense of security on how much grip there actually will be. So let's go ahead and get started here. Going to roll out, and it's going to make you think we're going to be doing a flying lap, but no, we're going to do a standing lap. All right, so obviously we're not coming down here at full throttle for the first turn, but I think for me, I'm looking at the first braking board here at the 150. It's about where I'm going to be braking on the softs. And down to second gear, just kiss the curbing there. The yellow sausage curbing is good. I think for the most part, a good reference where at least the track has decided the apex of the corner is. So if you can see those, figure that's the apex. I'm going to brake here just right before the 100 board. Cheat it to the inside a little bit, diamond the corner. Crest the hill, roll back into the throttle. Watch the wheel spin coming out. Brake between the 150. Down to second gear. First, if you need to get to first, you can. If you get it wrong, you go in a little too hot. Third gear, you can wide out third to go to fourth. But brake in between the cones on the curbing on the right side. Little too much curbing. Short shift. Keep it in third here. Slight brake. Turn in. The car is going to wash a little bit. Just again, Catalunya is notorious for having these off-camber cresting turns. We've got 3 of them, and I think they're all right-handers, and that's way late in the brakes. Again, I can't talk and drive at the same time, so why do I do these? Down to second gear. Look for that yellow curbing. Roll back in. Careful the wheel spin. Getting back to throttle. And my timing was off there. You can turn as soon as you get to the exit curbing. Third gear, brake. Roll back in third gear, fourth gear. All right, let's do one more flyer here. Again, brake at the 150. Down to third, down to second. Helps get the car into the corner. Still using a little too much curve there. Ease off on the throttle, look for the course condition light. Use that to help me figure out when I can roll back into the throttle. I could probably brake a little bit later there if I wanted to, but then I got to make sure I make the corner. Short shift to third. A little bit early on the turn in. little bit earlier in the turn in there. And the car washes wide. I think we're all gonna, that's gonna be the hardest turn to get right consistently, at least for me. And again, that right-hander, I don't know that I'm doing that one right. So, kind of doing what I'm used to. Okay, so that's a couple outlaps to Catalunya. At least so far, I did some initial laps on the softs. Really, we're only going to get maybe 5 laps on, which then usually the hard tires last at least twice as long as the softs will, as far as to get to that 60% mark. So figure the hard tires about 10 laps, and then the mediums usually are going to fall in between there. So maybe 7 laps is probably about, you know, what those will be. I'm going to validate the mediums and the hards in the mock race, but let's just talk about what this slidey, pushy Porsche likes to do. And again, no one to blame but myself on that. But again, you're going to be a 4th, 5th gear heading down here to turn 1. For me, again, we've got really nice braking boards here. So the 150 is a good indicator. On softs, that's probably about where I'm going to be able to brake on the softs. Obviously, on the mediums and the hards, I might not be able to brake as late and still be able to make the corner. So I can kind of use the white stripe there on the left side to help out a little bit. There's also there is also that corner worker shack here on the left, just before. You know, and again, it's weird. We have 2 sets of boards. We have a 100 board there, then it goes to 150, then to 100. But the guard shack, the corner worker shack there, is easy enough for at least for me to spot coming down the front straight. You know what? Because this is going to get annoying for me. Go ahead and switch that back. Nope, manual. That's why I'm not having to rev the engine and clutching like that. So, okay, that's better. So brake for turn 1. I'm usually going down to 2nd gear. I think again, you know, the higher gear, higher revs, puts a little more weight in the front of the car, helps the car turn in. And what I'm aiming to do is I am going to get on the red and white curbing, not that much, but enough to get through the corner. Same thing over here. I just want to get the left sides on the red and white curbing. And as I pointed out earlier, you know, this corner, you know, that yellow sausage curb is a good, you know, if you needed a reference, like where's the apex, that's generally a good reference point for the apex. Then it's like, you know, where do you want to kiss the curbing with the left side tires? Whoop, let's go the other way. Bring the car out. I'll probably have it maybe mid-track, maybe a little to the inside. Gonna have to ease off the throttle, and I'm gonna try. You know, this is a long corner. I think for me, I'm gonna just try and take the shortest distance possible. Is get it to the inside and hold it in there. You know, on entry through the middle of the corner. The trick is how, you know, when can I roll back into the throttle? When can I get to full throttle without, you know, inducing understeer on the way out, and hopefully without inducing oversteer because I've stabbed the throttle too much and spun the rear tires up. So what I'm looking for in the middle of the corner is I'm trying to find, you know, you can just see it there off on the right side, the double yellow course condition light. That's kind of what I'm looking for as I'm going through the corner. That until that is, you know, I want to get my eyes on it. In some cars, it's usually I can't commit back to full throttle until I get to it. So I'm just going to try and look at that and experiment. It's like, oh, okay, that was too early. I can get back here now, and try to kind of set like, okay, where am I able to comfortably get back to full throttle in relation to that course condition light. I might find something else during the race as I get into rhythm, but I always find that that's a good kind of reference point. If you're not, you know, obviously if you're past it, you should be able to be back at full throttle. I think ideally with this car, you know, when you're almost to it, you should feel pretty comfortable, getting back to full throttle and not really have to do much more with the steering to get the car out of the corner. It's also the point as you go past it where you can even see on the track map, this isn't, I guess it's technically a decreasing radius corner. So the entry to the corner is much sharper and it kind of opens up on the exit. So you pass that course condition light, the turn's starting to open up. You should be able to get back to full throttle. Slowly unwind the steering, let the car come out here to the left side. Use a bit of the exit curving here if you need to. It's not going to hurt the car. Setting up for this next hairpin. Again, it's another, much like the previous turn, it is a sharper entry, increasing radius on the way out. This is the first of these, cresting right-handers that are off camber on the exit. You're gonna have to be careful, especially this one, because it is a sharp entry. For me, the braking is going to be, depending on the tire, the 100 board, at least right now, seems to be about as late as I want to go on the softs. I might be able to go a little bit later if I'm a little bit more aggressive on the braking. But you can also see, again, a lot of you guys will have the braking line on, but from that 100 board, if you look just to the right in the road, you can see where the pavement starts to darken from tire rubber and like that being ground into the track from people braking, and that's where they're, trying to get the car slowed down. Now, my tendency here is when I brake, I tend to, you got two thoughts. You can brake in a straight line to the bridge, a little past it, then release and then turn in. What I may do on my own, if I don't have somebody right on my tail that's taking a look at the inside, is I'll probably brake and cheat the car pointed into the inside of the corner while I'm braking in a straight line. So as I'm braking, I'm bringing the car here, and then as I get to the curving here, this is about the point where I'll release the braking to turn the car in. Second gear, balance the car again. This is, it's a sharp entry. It opens up on the way out more than you think, but the trick is as you're cresting this hill and you're trying to find that balance of, you're cresting the hill, you want to try to start to unwind the wheel, you want to roll back into that throttle, but because you're cresting a hill and it's a little off camber or it's flattening out, you will, if you're a little too aggressive on the throttle, don't be surprised if you feel the back end want to step out. So just mind the wheel spin, cresting the hill. So your second gear, maybe up to third, out to the left side, bring it back to the right. Again, for me, the braking, I don't have good external definitive reference points yet. I am right now, kind of relying on the braking boards, but also correlating that with where I see the discoloration, where the rubbering in of the track is. So it is about halfway between the 100 and the 50 board. Is probably about where I'm going to need to brake, for this next corner. And this one, it's easy to outbrake yourself, but I'm not going to be all the way out to the right side. I'll probably cheat about mid-track or so as far as setting in the middle of the track, setting up for it. Brake down to second gear ideally. If you find that you're overcooking it into the corner, you can also drop it to first, but just be careful, depending on what you have set for your manual clutch or like that. Don't be surprised if the diff locks on the rears, dropping it to first and spiking the revs. You might feel the back kind of shake a little bit if you have to do that. Second gear ideally, hug the inside of the corner. Careful rolling back into the throttle on the way out. Third gear, heading down for the back half of the course here. You have a choice. This is comfort level. You can wind it up in third if you want, or you can pop it to fourth. I don't think there's one advantage or another. I think it's personal preference, what you feel like you want out of the car. But you're going to bring the car out. For me, I think the ideal braking is pretty much halfway between the end of this curving that I'm sitting next to right now and the start of the next outside curving. I'm also probably not going to be all the way to the edge. I'll probably try and give myself a little bit of wiggle room. Again, if you're on the soft tires, you might be able to brake really, really late here. If you're, on one of the harder compounds, you might need to brake a little bit sooner. For me, this one, it's not so much like a maximum threshold braking. I think this is just my my tendency in general is I tend to brake for these kind of corners a little more gently to keep the car more balanced on the turn in, and try to carry a more even speed into the corner. So it might be I might go a little bit slower in, but then hopefully then I'm not dropping a lot of speed mid corner, trying to get out, trying to then build speed back up in the exit. So for me, I'll probably be in fourth gear, drop it down third, maybe second. Ideally, the turn-in's a little later. I think I want to try and do a later turn in, and ideally aim for the second sausage curve on the left as far as the apex. That's the apex I want to hit, because if I do it right, I'm going to get on the curbing a little bit here, but it does kind of set me fairly straight heading up the hill here. So if I'm in second gear, I want to try and get to third as soon as possible, because if you're in second, you're going to be getting in, and you get onto these curves. You're also going to be right at the top of second gear, and it'll unsettle the car a little bit. So if you can short shift, if you can, kiss this curbing. I wouldn't get too far over it. Third gear, and I can't remember if I was up to fourth gear or not, but this is going to be the hardest turn for me to get right consistently, especially switching between tire compounds. Because this is the second cresting right-hander that you get no help on the exit. So two things are going to happen. You go in too hot, the car's going to push. You turn in too early, the car's going to push. If you try, if you're too aggressive on the throttle, don't be surprised if the back end wants to step out. It's going to be an interesting quarter to get through. But as I break it down, usually what I'm doing is, as I get to the end of this curbing, I am giving it a quick, a brush brake to kind of, you are going to need to slow the car down. We're running max downforce, but it still is just not enough to pin this car into the pavement, cresting the hill. So I am doing a kind of a brake. I'm releasing the brake and turning in as I'm passing the course condition light here on the left. That's about the timing that I'm doing to get the car into the corner. And I'm trying to get it to the curbing. Now, here's one case where I'm not using the sausage curbing as a reference. I'm trying to get as late of a turn in. I'm trying to square the exit at the corner up a bit, because I think that's the safer line. A little bit later of a turn in, later of an apex on the inside curbing, so that when you crest the hill and I can roll back into the throttle, it's one of those, if you go in too shallow, you're going to run out of circuit really fast on the exit, and you're going to be off on the left side. So if I can turn in a little bit later, late apex, stay on the inside there, crest out, then if I have to get on the curbing, I can, but I'm not shooting across the track really rapidly. We'll see how I do on the mock race. We'll see how I do on Thursday. But third gear, fourth gear, last couple of turns, I'm braking just before. For me, the 100 board on softs is probably about as late as I think I can dare brake, and then I better make sure I have enough braking. But depending on the tire, your braking zone is probably going to be, from between the corner worker shack there on the left side and the 100 board. How I brake, I don't know that I can brake later than the 100 board and still make the corner without, doing things that, would destroy the engine and transmission on the real car. So for me, again, braking just as I get to the 100 board, down to second gear, turn in, go ahead and use the inside curbing. I'm going to aim for the last yellow curbing as kind of my apex, roll back into the throttle, be careful rolling back in. You might even short shift, it's up to you. Easy, this is another one, it's easy to get too aggressive on the throttle and get the back tires to light up and step out. This is the last cresting right-hander, and this is the one that I still don't know that I'm taking it correctly. I usually tend to set up a little bit wide, second gear, and I'm actually looking for that last sausage curve there on the inside. That's what I'm aiming for as my apex. The problem is, and kind of where I'm at this point in relation to where the rubber is on the pavement, it almost seems like the right line is a little bit wider, to be a little bit wider out as you crest the hill. This is what I'm still trying to experiment on. So this is what I'm doing. I don't know that it's right, but it's hard for me to figure out what the right line is if I'm not on it. because in using that inside sausage curb as the apex to have the car to the inside, it does make then this last part of the exit as you're cresting the hill, it makes it very tight that I can't quite roll back into the throttles aggressively. I still have a lot of steering in where maybe I want to be off a little bit, where I can open it up a little bit and have a little bit more freedom with the throttle. So we'll see how we do in the race. But again, the exit of the corner does crest. Just mind your throttle application. If you're running traction control, you'll be fine. Second gear out, third gear. Since we no longer have the sharp turn to the chicane, this is timing, kind of a timing and by feel. For me, turn in, it is a kind of a blind entry. You really can't see the inside apex, inside curbing for the next corner. So I'm using this curbing here as a guide. As I get to the end of it, as I get off of it, that usually is the turn in. It might be slightly early, so it might be pass, and it might be just like a breath and then turn in. But for this next corner, you can, even if I'm turning in early and realizing, oh, I'm gonna, kind of straddle the curbing, you can totally get away with that and not violate track limits. So I might be doing that a lot. The car seems to not be bothered by that. We'll see how it happens later in the race. But on the exit, rolling back in, third gear, maybe up to fourth. If you're going to you can cross quite a ways over the exit curbing here, heading down to the final turn without hitting track limits. But we have, excuse me, talking a lot, not breathing much. But we have that really long yellow sausage curve at the end. And I think just for my, risk assessment, it's usually best to try and get the car back to the right so that you're not on that at all. Because I think this is severe enough that if you're straddling it here and then you're going to try and turn the car in for the last corner, you run the risk of really upsetting the car on turn in. So we'll see what happens in the mock race, that I practice. We'll see if I accidentally get that far out there. But ideally, I'm going to try and keep it to the right of the yellow curbing. My braking, it is a third gear corner. You're probably going to have to brake a little bit to get the car in. It does understeer a little bit. So I'm kind of using, I've got the pit symbol there. It's about halfway down this curbing. You can kind of see, just as far as things I'm trying to pick up peripherally, if you look at the inside, concrete wall, you can see where the tire bundles start for pit entry. So I've been kind of looking at that. There's the pole that's light pole behind it. So it is right about here where it is probably a quick little brake to turn the car in. And third gear, you can get on the curbing and the inside curbing a little bit. And then it's just roll back out. You can use a bit of the exit curbing and bring the car back on. Thankfully, the curbing's a little bit gentler here than I think it was in the previous Forza. But that's a lap of Catalunya. Again, the car does have a little bit of understeer, especially on the harder compounds. And there's quite a few turns here that do not favor, an understeery car. It actually will exacerbate it a little bit, which because the car tends to understeer, I think the tire scrub's a little bit higher here than it has been for some of the other tracks. So what that means is this might be, and we'll validate it. I don't know what the lap count is. This might be one of those where the two-stopper might be advantageous just from a tire wear perspective. But I've done enough talking. Let's get into what I'm going to do here. Let's go ahead and exit this to event menu. I click OK there. It's part of the thing I'm going to set up to do the mock race, but because of Twitch streaming through the Xbox and bitrate and static, if it's on too long, I'm going to take a second, pause the stream, come back, we'll get set up for the mock race, and then and again, it's kind of mock race, so I have traffic, but also, I can actually try and test and see what the tire wear is for mediums and hard. So, be right back. Pause. Okay, whoops. And we're back. Little preview for next season's car. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, and I got to reset the mic too. Give me 1 second. No. Wait, Porsche. Here we go. Okay, we're going to do a circuit race, a GP circuit, number of laps. I'm guesstimating 20 laps. We'll go random. I have no idea what the actual time will be. And time progression, we are doing 4x or x times 4 on the top on the time progression. We'll go random, but I'm not going to run a rain race. We'll do dynamic track rubber, driver difficulty, number of driver tires, all of them. Cars, and I do want to make sure we're all in Porsches. Porsche, Strassenbergen, the 97. And rules, yes, it always sets the club. Thank you, Forza. We'll go sport rules. Let me just run through fuel and tires only, 4 times the tire wear, no disqualification, standing start, random grid order, 1 mandatory pit stop. And that should do it. I don't need to do groups. Okay. Let's see what we get. Watch, it's going to be in the middle of the night in a thunderstorm. Ah. Favorable conditions. All right. Let's learn something new about Catalunya.
Catalunya is notorious for high G-force directional changes due to downhill and off-camber turns, which require minimal braking and consistent speed.
Kind of makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about. All right, let's go ahead and set up the race. Okay, I need to go back. I need to do manual with clutch because that will be slightly quicker on the upshifts. And then I'm going to go to car, and we're going to go fuel and tire. Now, typically, I tend to run whatever fuel I need for the race. I don't mess around with low fuel weights. Now, I'm not saying that there's not an advantage to that. Again, it's like I think there is something to be said for trying that. As far as if you're going to start on softs and run low fuel, you'll probably compared to say low fuel for the laps that you need for the tire for 5 laps worth of fuel, the time gained on somebody that's running the same tire compound with 20 laps of fuel, there's probably something you're probably making up enough time on the low fuel. You just got to factor, is that enough time gained on track compared to what you're going to have to, compared to the increased time in the pits to refuel the car. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm not smart enough to sit and do all that math in my head and try to figure time out. And I would just say, you know what, for me, it's easier. I'm just going to set the laps I need for the race, and I'll do, and that's usually that usually dictates my tire strategy, where I'll do the hard tire, and then I'll have the medium tire for the end of the race on lower fuel. Again, everybody's going to do their own thing on that one. But for this, we're going to run, we're going to run, not the softs, we're going to run the hard tires, 69% fuel for 21 laps in current conditions. That should do it. Let's go ahead and start the race. Let's put me in the back. No, I'm almost at the back. Good. So I want to let all those guys by. I'm going to move over to the right. Oops, wrong button. There we go. Okay, good. And we'll just take it easy for the first lap. Well, actually I shouldn't, because I need to get tire wear, and if I take it easy, that's going to be less wear. Oh, come on, guys, figure out what you got to do. Whoop. Wasn't expecting them. Expecting them to accelerate a little bit more than they were. Whoop. That'll be a penalty. Oh, no penalty. Wow. I thought I'd certainly get that for avoidable contact. Use the corner worker shack there. A little bit of wheel spin at the back. So maybe that apex is a little bit past that yellow curbing. Ah! Took my eye off something. That's okay. Oh, oh my god! I mean, it's admittedly not a safe rejoin on my part, but then to look in the rearview mirror and see two cars, one of them's like three-way sideways out of that final corner. That's a little bit too much steering there, Stiggy. Third gear. I can use kind of that 150 board as kind of a target as far as, whoop, come on the way out. Yeah, second gear. It always takes me a few laps to get the kind of the timing right for that turn. Let's try to get through the final corner this time. Draft, baby. There we go, tires are finally warmed up. Ooh. A little too much. That'll be a time penalty.
Total time penalty is about a second.
Somebody's already taken a pit. So that was into 3 laps. Yes. We'll check it in lap 5. Because, again, my guess is the hards will get about 10 laps, maybe 11. Again, because, you know, if you start on the hards and you're in, you know, and you're in traffic on that first lap or two until everybody strings out, you know, you're probably not going to be putting as much wear on them as you would if you know, go out straight away by yourself in pre-player rivals. Oh, that was late. That was late. That was late. See, this is why I practice. Come on. Come on. I'm just all sorts of out of, well, all out of sorts. All right, one more lap. Let's see where we're at. Wow, very nice drivatars. You actually, you know, followed. Whoa! I will give the drivatar props there for staying to the right of the blend line on pit exit. But then, you know, I couldn't figure out how to get through turn 1 and 2, but, you know. So even out of that corner, you know, second gear may be on the way in to get the car turned in, but even a short shift to third on the way out will, you know, give a little, you know, keep the back end a little bit more in check. Yeah, I'm having to brake for that right-hander a little bit earlier than I did on the softs, which totally makes sense. Our tires do not grip as well. Yeah, so I'm hugging that one. I'm hugging the inside a little too much, and then I can't, you know, I'm then forced to really hold more steering in on the exit than I'd like to. So maybe I just need to be a little off the curbing a little bit more. All right, end of lap 5. Are we below or above 30%? Below. So yeah, they'll do 10 laps pretty easily. You might be able to get a little more out of it. Again, it just depends on when you run them and what you got going on. We will run these 2 laps, and this is where I'm thinking this could conceivably, you know, depending on how many laps Matt sets for this race. I'm taking a stab at it based off of a, you know, just kind of one of my times on the soft tires at 50% fuel. If it is 20 laps, this may need to be a 2-stopper. The DEG is high enough where, yeah, if I can get 10 laps on the hards, or I can only get 10 laps on the hards before they hit the cliff, you know, then I do have to weigh you know, do have to weigh the strategy. It's like, if the mediums are only going to get, if I can get 8 laps on the mediums, that somehow I still have to get, you know, there's 2 laps there. I got to figure out how to baby the tires. And so it may be the one stopper. I think there's more risk for the one stopper if it is 20 laps, because you gotta either you gotta make the softs. I'm sorry, you gotta make the hard tires last, 11 or 12 laps. You know, if you make the hards last 12 laps and then the mediums get 8 laps till 60%, maybe you're pushing both sets, past 60% to try and make the time. But is it worth, is it easier to go in and pit for softs and run softs for 5 laps each, knowing that, they're at least a second a lap quicker than the mediums? So that's 5 seconds on track. It's definitely going to make, and I think that's one of the things, thinking about like some of the last couple of races, that the one-stop strategy always seems to be the preferred one, just because, the tires, you could make the tires, the hards and the mediums, make it, to 60% and do one stop. Be nice maybe to up the DEG a little bit next season, just to kind of make the 2-stopper more attractive, make it the safer one, and put the risk for the 1-stoppers to say, if you want to do it one stop, you're going to have to run the tire past 60% and risk having an off, or just risk having a really slow lap, and that might offset some of the disadvantages 2-stoppers have in making an extra pit stop and having to, lose 20-some seconds worth of track position. So, speaking of track position, I haven't been paying attention. I'm in the lead. No, I'm not. Wait, what am I thinking? Oh, there's just a really huge gap to the cars in front of me. I am the last car that has not pitted, I guess. I hadn't looked at my position up at the top. I was just looking at the map going, wow, there's like nobody in front of me. Pretty sunset. And the back started to step out, so I just got out of the throttle till it, whoop, that's way too late. This is more interesting anyway. You guys don't want to watch me hot lap. A little bit better. Got a good draft, but there we go. Show off that proximity radar. How close can I get? Whoop, excuse me, pardon me, Come on, get going. Freak the driver tar out. What are you doing, man? You can see going down to first there, just really upset the front of the car. Got a lot of... Getting a little more difficult. The nice thing is at least the circuit is pretty well lit at night. Might be able to get to lap 11 on the hards because I was taking it very, very easy the first 2 laps. What? Let's go ahead and... Oh, let's run it one more lap. 54%? Yeah. That's not going to help me, but... That's what I get for doing late checks on the tires and late decisions on pit strategy. Yeah, we'll pit this lap, but I'm going to have to put up with some plus 60% deg on the left front. Speed stuff, tires still seem to grip pretty well. It's stuff like this is going to be problematic if I'm not careful. Pit entry. You need to brake a little bit. It's not going to catch you until you get to pit wall. Okay, so we're going to go mediums and skip because I got plenty of fuel. So yeah, so 10 to 11 laps on the hards. That again, twice as long as you could on the softs. So 7, maybe 8 laps on mediums, but then that's still, at least for the race I'm running, that's still. Even if it's 8 laps, it's still 2 laps short. So we'll see how the tire day gets, but this may be our two stopper. Break at about the 100 board. Oh, grip. Oh yeah, I can definitely brake later there. Car's a little bit lighter, grippier rubber, track's rubbering in. A lock up there on the left side. A little bit early. Again, that one, if you kind of miss getting the entry, just hold the line through, just work with it. You'll just spend a lot more time, scrubbing tires, trying to get the car all the way back to the inside. Right, 15% after what? Roughly 3 laps? 3, 6. Ooh. See, I ran, that was after 2 laps. So yeah, so 2, 4. Yeah, it looks like about 8 laps. Decent draft down the straight. A little bit early. But I'm assuming at this point I may have a slight tire advantage. Let's see. Probably turning a little bit earlier now for that left-hander than I was earlier. Turning in earlier. About 8 laps to that 60% mark. So I've got decisions to make. I think what I'm going to do, because we just did 4 laps and it's at 30%, so I'm just going to say, yeah, you'll get 8 laps on the mediums before 60%. I'm going to go ahead and box this lap and go to softs for the end of the race. Because I'm not going to make these last. I tried to be cheeky. Sorry, I want to rewind that one. I really don't like doing that, but I was trying to take advantage of the AI. Okay. Soft tires. Skip. I will have enough fuel to the end. So yeah, this one will be interested to see what Matt thinks the lap count is, because if it's 20 laps, it's the 2-stop is probably the preferred strategy. And I think really that should be kind of for any of our races, that the 2-stop should be the safer one and the single stop should be the risk. Okay, Forza, you need to work on the driver tires pit exit behavior at Catalunya. Okay, so 5 laps, let's see what I can do. I'm way at the back again, but... Not used to having this much grip. Needed to practice that kind of pass.
3 remaining.
Copy. Well, that's half second. Oh, no penalty. Thank you. I like that short shift out of the corner. I think the car just feels a little bit easier to drive.
Total time penalty is about 1.5 seconds.
I barely touched him. Half second. Jeez. Like I'm not the only one that is making multiple stops. Yeah, that was a little bit of a chop across the nose, but you know, it's 2 laps to go. Not sure I'm gonna get any more positions. I might catch the 2 cars in front of me, and I don't know if there's anybody else that is gonna need to pit, because if there was any, again, assuming driver cars are running race tires and they're getting the same amount of tire wear, you know, this would be the lap that I'd expect the mediums to fall off. And for people maybe to go in, well, actually, let's see, 10, 11, yeah, 8, 19.
One more. Finish strong.
Let's see if we can make the last lap our fastest lap. Can I get that 1.4? No, I'm not. Still finished 13th. 144.5. Yeah, 37. Yeah, it looks like. So a 20-lap race is probably going to be one lap too long. So maybe in a 19, maybe 18, which then that, tire drag wise, it just drops it right back into the one stopper is the favored strategy. So yeah, just on my own, I might poke around with run some test laps with up to tire wear to see if maybe going to like 5% for our races is, again, it's like the balancing act. You want it high enough to where the time-wise, the two-stop strategy balances out with a one-stop strategy. If you're going to do a one-stop, you're going to have to suffer on worn tires for at least a lap or 2 laps on your stints, which the time lost over those laps because the tires have dropped off the cliff should balance out with the amount of time that you're going to be on the pit road to get the extra set of tires. Again, factoring in that if you're doing the extra pit stop, you're running softer tires, so you're making part of that gap up just in lap time. So yeah, I think that's something to discuss for next season. But that's it for this one. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break. The other race for next week is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Brickyard, the oval. So that one's going to be a bit of a crapshoot as far as I don't think there's any way we can do bucket delays on that one. And drafting is going to be it's all going to be about the drafting. So if I do a track guide on that, it's going to be kind of like what I did for Le Mans. It's going to be very basic, and probably, I don't know. Well, I might do a mock race to see what that looks like. But anyhow, I'm done a lot of talking and a bit of driving, but I'm going to take a break. I'll probably be back in a little bit with track guide for IMS. So hope you guys having a great Saturday. Hope you're enjoying the Olympics that just started, and happy racing.